wake up and shake off the strange dream you just had. You slowly realize the gravity of your situation as you take in your surroundings. Last you remembered, you were in the hospital getting a simple fall bladder surgery done. You had a strange dream that someone had their hands around your throat, choking you. As your vision clears, you see that somehow you ended up on a colonization ship, one of the behemoth-class freighters from the looks of it. But where was everybody? You slide off the surgical table and figure they must have had to transport you off-world for some reason to have the procedure done. You look but don't notice any stitches, only a strange, tightening sensation in your chest. Walking down the hallway, you can see the signs of the crew but saw no one. Maybe they all went into cryo-sleep for one of those long-distance journeys. Then you start to wonder, exactly what ship are you on and where are you going? It's not unusual for them to transport emergency surgery patients to passing colonization vessels, as most of the well-trained nanosurgeons and technology are usually traveling on board these ships, but they don't usually take you into deep space with them. You feel flush with fever, and that tightening sensation in your lungs is now like a knot. You brush it off to go find some sort of crew. As you pass the main hangar bay, you notice what looked like a pool of water on the deck, but as you got closer, you noticed it wasn't water, it was blood. You really began to panic, then suddenly the klaxon emergency alert blared through the speaker system, warning you that a collision course has been detected and you've 17 minutes till impact with a large asteroid object. The lights blaring and the ship system enters evacuation mode. Where is the crew, you wondered? The emergency alarm set off the cooling valves to the engine as it prepared to eject the power core clear of the impact zone to prevent a critical mass rupture. But there was something else that made the hairs on your neck stand up. Something else hissing in the shadows, and it wasn't the pipes. Instinctively, you dashed for the ventilation shaft and shimmied into the venting duct. Just as you got inside, you peered through the slits of the vent cover in time to notice the source of that hissing sound. You couldn't believe what you were seeing. You remember hearing about the old world entertainment archives that mentioned the xenomorph sci-fi classic Aliens, and you had heard about the corporate wars of the old Earth and the bioweapon projects of the last conflict cycle that had supposedly experimented on a project to create these things. But no one thought they seriously had succeeded. It was just a myth, right? However, here it was standing right in front of you, long oblong-shaped head, scorpion-like tail and teeth that looked like if you hadn't gone mad and lost your mind. This thing would ensure to help you lose your mind straight out of the back of your skull. You slide down the shaft onto the deck below you without alerting it, and breathed a sigh of relief when suddenly your chest convulsed and that knot was growing into a real problem with your breathing. When suddenly your heart skipped a beat. Oh no, you thought to yourself as you remembered the weird dream you had just before you woke up to this deep space nightmare. You found the venting cover for the floor you were on and slid it aside to crawl out of the shaft you were in. Just as you were turning around to stand up. Of all the damned luck, you had to have a movie montage moment by meeting the thing making these creatures. Its huge egg sac like appendage spitting out eggs one after the other. The giant queen ant creature with an attitude noticed you, and you decided instead of making this a movie highlight clip, you would make a dash for the flashing sign that said emergency escape pod section B22 through B30. As you ran for the corridor, the giant Xeno Queen ran after you but wasn't fast enough. You reached the doorway before she did, and she was too large to fit through. You wasted no time as the ship system announced you had T-2 minutes until impact. You entered the escape pod, and thankfully, it only had a seat available for one person, because you remember the old space horror movies and you know, they never got away if there was room for two. You hit the launch button and jettisoned away from the ship, clearing the blast field as the front of the ship began to smash into the asteroid. You were safe, but just as you began to relax, that convulsion in your chest was back and you could feel it trying to push through. Just when you thought you were safe, the old world movie line from the Kruger movies came into your mind. That's what you get for thinking you were safe. Welcome to prime time, bitch. As your chest cracked and you blood sprayed across the front window of the pod. Game over, man. Game over.